this is logical. We know that things happen that we cannot explain.
Do you?
We want fast, we want slow, what are we feeling?
You pick.
Hi guys, my name is Ruben Peralta. One of the things that I love about the movie is everything happens in just on one location. And I think that's it's a fine line between being theatrical and show what cinematic,
Right.
what cinema is. How did you guys create this fine line and we don't feel that we're watching a play, but instead we're watching a great movie?
Yeah, I mean, we got to give a lot of that up to Mel Eslyn, our director. You know, Mel and I co-wrote this together, and we knew we were headed into the pitfalls of small space, only two faces. This could get real boring and repetitive and make people think, why is this not on the stage? Luckily, we had a great production designer, and we had all the visual interests of all the elements of the dome. So you just weren't in an average apartment. You know, you could take in all these things in the background and creating that oblong shape of the dome. Lots of things in deep focus on a second viewing. You can see that kind of play into things. But beyond that, then it turns into, okay, now it's on you and me, Brown. We got to be connected and interesting enough to try and hold this stuff, you know? And what happens is with a movie like this is we just play this movie over and over again on our friends, smart peers and filmmakers. And we just say, hit us, man. When are you bored? What's happening? You know? And we just trim it all down until it starts to hit.
Way to keep us alive. I just need you to believe. There's goodness in change. Some people call it hope. I call it magic.
Usually, in post-apocalyptic movies, we never see two characters of the same sex surviving and trying to make something new. When you guys had the first meeting to check on the script, why the approach was to make it mostly a comedy instead of something dramatic or something with more action? Because I find it fascinating that you guys choose to be a comedy instead of something different than we usually see in cinema in the past 20 years. That it has to be something or pursuing something or trying to find something to large life. But this is just to survive, but with a good humor.
Yeah. So I would say, you know, as the co-screenwriter and producer of this film, you know, my intention was a little different than how you framed it, respectfully, is that, you know, I don't see it as just a comedy or just a drama. And most of the movies I make exist somewhere in the spectrum in between. And I think that, you know, our feeling was it'll be a good thing if people can find warmth and humor in this story. And I think it'll be a good thing if we allow the moments to sometimes play funnier and sometimes play more serious. And what we've found that's interesting with this movie is that depending on who's watching it and who they're watching it with, it can play a lot more comedic or a lot more dramatic. You watch this movie in a big movie theater, there's a lot of big laughs, and that laughter is contagious and people get on board. You watch this movie at night at home with two kind of serious people, it's not a lot of laughs. And they still have a successful viewing. They just have a more dramatic viewing. So a lot of it is about what you bring to it.
But what I like is something that you say. You say that they think they're in control, but it's post-apocalyptic. Like what else you can control after the world ends? And I think that's like a dark humor behind everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't explain all the magic in the world.
Dude.
What?
Life finds a way.
You didn't just quote Jurassic Park.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good.
Do you want me to record the conversation?
Hi, Ruben. We'll record on our end and send you the files after this. So you're all set to start.
Sure.
And then if you could just keep an eye on your chat for a time warning, that would be great.
Awesome. Hi, Mel. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I love your movie. It's so many layers, so many things.
Thank you.
I had the chance to speak with the actors a couple of weeks ago, and for me, it's always amazing how you can handle a whole almost 90 minutes of dialogues in just one scenario. How did you create this with the actors
to do not feel that it's lagging, that it's getting boring, and everything stay like a theater kind of theme.
Yeah, I mean, it was the actors, it was the production design, making it feel like there were different rooms within the Biosphere. It was the camera moves, you know, making sure we were always changing things up and the lighting. But with the actors themselves, it was really kind of pinpointing what the energy would be for each scene and making sure, again, that we were seeing journeys, and a lot of the times within a certain scene, allowing the camera to hold and see an emotional journey play out in one actor's face, and really be in that moment before we switch things up. So it was really like finding a rhythm.
I always love this kind of movie that is post-apocalyptic, that something happened and we don't know what happened. And how do you, this is one of your first projects, how do you create like a fine line between being dramatic, but have some humor while you tell the story?
Yeah, I mean, I am a big believer in comedy being kind of the way through, and sort of like an equalizer, a safe space. If you can keep people laughing, you can take them to territories that they're not expecting, that they might not normally explore or be open to. And I also just love that moment when you switch from laughing to crying or vice versa. So that was something I really tried to do with this, both with the writing and the dialogue, and then having actors who could go so quickly between the two was key.
I also feel that you try to speak about believing and religion and how the values of different characters affecting their decision. And of course, we have one person, one of the characters, that one of his decisions create all this.
Mm-hmm.
And while you guys were creating the script and writing the script, and knowing this is an independent film, how everything fit in just one in one conversation to know where you guys going, because I think it's a high risk when you try to tell this kind of story without feeling that, okay, I saw this story already before, because every year we have these post-apocalyptic movies, but this is something different. This is something that it might happen. Like, you never know.
Some of it's definitely not happening. Yeah, but it is, you know, I've been a producer for like 10, 15 years and have made so many films with restrictions, and a lot that are like one location, two characters. And so I've been through it, and to really do it again and for it to be my own feature directorial debut, I wanted it to feel different. And I've also watched a lot of directors really be the most creative when restrictions are being put on them. So I think by creating sort of this, we've got one location, two people, now go wild and push the limits and the boundaries within that, was really exciting. And it's also, as my first feature film as a director, I feel like there's always this, and I've seen it with other directors, where it's like, I might never do this again, so I'm going to throw in everything that I love and I believe in. And it was a lot of different ingredients that went in, and just when I hope all, you know, feel in place there. But that was a carefully crafted, conscious decision to like hit on a bunch of things that are important to me.
What other directors do you took influence to create this movie?
I mean, I love science fiction, and there was something right away about knowing the space I could explore with science, a lot of research that I could do for that, which I love. Also, the idea that it was the last two people on Earth and they were men was really exciting to me, because why men? Of course, it's probably men, and just exploring toxic masculinity and really exploring male intimacy, but told through a woman's eyes too.
That's a cool part, because you're a director and you have and that's what I was thinking. Usually when we have these kind of movies, we never had people the same sex or the same gender. We don't have those. So this kind of a rare intimacy that they have to create to survive. I think it's super cool also, and it's something new that you as a director and your first feature you're showing to the audience. And probably that was also a challenge when you were creating this new narrative.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the actors too, like we all grew and we all pushed ourselves to territories that we hadn't been before. And I think both Mark and Sterling had never examined certain, intimacy scenarios as men. And so I think it was really exciting and vulnerable for them to travel there.
Because you worked before with Mark, so you know him, and you guys know each other how to do certain things. And Mark, it's now he has created so many independent films, and now he have a know-how. And I assume he like you to have a conversation about this know-how and how things work in the independent world, because this is not a classic Hollywood big production. They're gonna bring a lot of people to watch him and have this kind of discussion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've been running Mark's company for the last 7 years and we've worked together for 10. And, we work with each other, I think, more than anybody else, even his brother at this point, because Jay has his projects, Mark has his. And so we both have been through it so many times, and we know, like, at day's end, we just want to make things. And so we've figured out how to make things and try and keep it interesting every time.
Mel, thank you so much for your time and congratulations again. Great.
Thank you.
I love
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It was good to meet you.
My pleasure.